Searchlights. Searchlights became popular for military use at the turn of the 20th century. Shown here are Russian troops using a searchlight on Japanese forces, attacking at night during the Russo-Japanese War of 1904. During World War I, searchlights were used against aircraft, particularly German Zeppelins, conducting nighttime bombing raids over England. Searchlights were also used to create artificial moonlight by reflecting their powerful beams off clouds, improving nighttime visibility on a battlefield. During World War II, all major militaries had thousands of searchlights equipped to ships and aircraft, and of course used with dedicated searchlight units, working with anti-aircraft guns, listening equipment, and radar. Searchlights were part of nationwide defensive perimeters and aided in the shooting down of thousands of aircraft. More aircraft were lost to anti-aircraft ground and sea defenses during the war than any other source. The primary purpose of these searchlights was to aid anti-aircraft crews and friendly aircraft in shooting down enemy bombers. However, searchlights were also considered weapons, used to dazzle, confuse, and blind enemy pilots and crews. Searchlights were even used on the ground in such a manner, mounted to tanks like the Matilda or M3 Grant, shown here. Such tanks, called Canal Defense Light Units, were used in crossing the Rhine and protecting Ludendorff Bridge, after it was captured intact during the Battle of Remagen. Searchlights during the war typically ranged from 60 centimeters to 300 centimeters in size. A common size for anti-aircraft use were 150 centimeter spotlights. A German flak searchlight Model 37, of which over 7,300 were used during the war, has an output of 990 million candelas. Such systems were typically towed, with a separate power generator on its own trailer, which was gas-powered. A World War II 150 centimeter searchlight could detect an aircraft flying at 16,000 feet from 8 kilometers, or 5 miles away in good weather. Searchlights were typically located ahead of anti-aircraft guns, in a zone of preparation. This would allow searchlights time to locate and lock onto their targets, ideally just before they came into range of anti-aircraft guns. Searchlights were laid out in grids and spaced out by 5 kilometers between lights or sets of lights. A light set might be one larger searchlight, like a 200 centimeter light, with 3 150 centimeter lights in support. Once one light found a target, the group of lights would narrow their beams and triangulate on an aircraft, a fearsome experience for aircraft crews. Lights found their targets before radar simply by sweeping the sky, and by the use of sound locators. Acoustic or sound locators had been used to detect planes starting in World War I, and various instruments have been created to both detect both the direction and elevation of an aircraft using sound. This is a German sound locator, and here is a Swedish one, both used during World War II. Sound locators were largely rendered obsolete by radar towards the end of the war, as sound detection only gave short notice of an incoming aircraft. They were also disrupted by anti-aircraft fire. They had one advantage over radar, as they could still locate through obstacles like hills that would obstruct radar, so many armies kept them as backup devices. Sound locators were taken seriously by air forces during the war, so much so many bomber engines were kept desynchronized, making their acoustic signal more difficult to track. Radar greatly improved the use of searchlights during the war, and these systems were paired together. This is a British searchlight control radar Mark IV 150 centimeter searchlight. These radar systems were small, inexpensive, and less accurate, but paired with a searchlight became an effective way to locate the enemy. Radar systems only had to be effective enough to give a searchlight crew an idea of where the enemy was, so they could sweep that section of sky and lock in on an aircraft. These systems became more advanced during the war, with radar units automatically setting a searchlight's beam width according to the radar's accuracy. A searchlight operator would then simply have to narrow the beam's focus on the aircraft. Once the aircraft was lit up, anti-aircraft guns could fix on target. By the end of the war, Allied anti-aircraft guns using radar and proximity fuses became accurate enough to target planes at night without the use of searchlights. But searchlights still aided the majority of guns. No German or Japanese ground radar was accurate enough for flak fire directing without the use of searchlights at night, so the Japanese and Germans were highly reliant on searchlights for night defense. Aircraft crews took the searchlights as seriously as the flak guns themselves. Counter-searchlight tactics included flying some bombers low enough to attack the searchlights with their .50 caliber machine guns ahead of the main formation. Some bombers were also painted with a gloss black paint for nighttime bombings, making them harder for searchlights to locate. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope the video was illuminating and we cast some light on the subject, etc., etc. Anyway, do take care and have a nice rest of your day.